Thank you, Arnav, and um, thanks to Maritime Research Center. Um, well, I should add that my current affiliation is with the United Services Institution of India, which is the oldest armed forces think tank going back to 1870. That is where I'm presently affiliated to. Um, you know, Arnab, in your initial remarks, you referred to 9/11 and 26/11. But uh, I think the significant date, as far as we are concerned, India is concerned, with respect to maritime domain awareness, is 2004 December, the tsunami. Uh, the tsunami was a milestone for two reasons. One, it raised the public and the consciousness of the public and the national security leadership about the significance of the Indian Ocean, understanding the dynamics of the Indian Ocean as far as the Indian economy is concerned. We had uh, impact of the tsunami on India, particularly the coastal regions in southern India. And I was in government at the time. I was with the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and that it was in response to the tsunami that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh set up the National Disaster Management Authority, the NDMA, which is in fact headed by a retired general of the armed forces. Uh, and I think that is a significant turning point, that there is a realization of the importance of understanding the dynamics of the Indian Ocean for security and for development. But the second aspect to the tsunami was that it gave us an opportunity within 24 hours to work with other countries. Indian Navy, as some of our speakers here from the Navy know, that we worked with the United States, we worked with Indonesia, we worked with Singapore, and with other countries, with Japan, in delivering, assistance to Indonesia, particularly to Indonesia, but also in creating an architecture for regional cooperation in the context of the Indian Ocean. So I think the tsunami and its impact both on India and on the region was, in my judgment, a important turning point in raising awareness about the Indian Ocean. As some of you will recall, many years ago we formed the IORA, which is the Indian Ocean Rim Association, which remained defunct for a long, long time. But there was a revival of IORA after the tsunami, and uh, and then of course more recently with Prime Minister Modi, we had SAGAR and now Mahasagar. It was just a couple of weeks back that Prime Minister Modi was in Mauritius, where he renamed the SAGAR, which is Security and Growth Across the Region, which was a framework for both security and development in the Indian Ocean region, renamed it as Mahasagar, which is mutual and harmonistic advancement of security and growth around the region. Now, the important thing about this approach is that we are linking development, uh, economic development in the region to security. I think Arnav made that point, and that's an important point for us to note, that we are not looking at Indian Ocean security only from the point of view of China or the military threat to the region, China's activities in the region, or indeed the activities of other countries, because almost every other country is now around in the Indian Ocean. The Americans are here, the French are here, the British are here, the Germans have been here. So there's a multi-country presence in the Indian Ocean, and I think therefore to keep a balance between development and security is an effort on India's part, and at least we in India, should not, uh, forget that kind of framework for regional for any maritime strategy, maritime domain awareness, or underwater domain awareness. So for both of them. The second point I would make is that, and I think this is something which has been emphasized by the other speakers, is the need for technological collaboration. And here again, I would say it's not just the United States. I know two of our speakers this evening are from the US, but we have been working with the Japanese. I participated in an earlier panel discussion that Arnab hosted some months back, where we had a Japanese speaker, and I think we are working with Singapore, with Japan, and we ought to work with Australia, with Indonesia, with South Africa. I think there are several countries here with whom we need to work together in order to widen the perspective, in order to um, acquire a better understanding of the region as a whole, and not simply the waters around the peninsula. So I think, a couple of speakers referred to bilateral, trilateral, plurilateral arrangements. I think plurilateral is the way to go, and bring in more countries. I'm not sure what initiatives are being taken in this regard by the present government. I have not kept track, but I would imagine that it's useful, even technologically useful. I mean, Japan has enormous technological competencies, which are significant competencies in underwater domain awareness. And I think, therefore, there are technological, benefits to widening the scope of this cooperation. But also, it helps us in managing, regional security much better. So, a framework which is larger than a bilateral one or even a trilateral one would, in my judgment, be in the long term interests of India. Um, Finally, the fourth point I would like to flag uh, is the importance of policy integration. I think that is crucial in India, that there is not adequate integration between, first of all, between the ministries of defense, foreign affairs, uh, and other shipping ministry and other related ministries, but even within defense, between navy and air force and armed forces, etc. I think there's a need for a much better um, policy integration, because we are looking at multiple capabilities, or multiple spheres of knowledge. Um, I mean, for example, we do not, I believe, have a top class underwater research institution. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, that is in a position, that is well funded, in a position to work with other countries in order to carry out research. And unless we invest in those technological capabilities, which requires much greater coordination at the national level in New Delhi between multiple agencies of the government, we would not have our own technology. And the point has been made that you might not get enough technology from the US. Maybe you'll get some in some areas, you won't get in other. But I don't think Indian strategy can be based on expecting technology from others. However much we may seek technology, technology is not easily made available. I mean, it's not as if it's on sale in the marketplace. There are areas in which government to government negotiations enable. But if there is greater um, research capability at home, our ability to access technology, or our ability to understand new technologies as we cooperate with other countries, will improve. And I think that's extremely important for us, that this capacity to be able to understand and incorporate and utilize. I emphasize this last point particularly because we are, I believe, entering a phase of increasing technology regulation. I think technology has been identified as a major, instrument of power of national security, Already, I'm aware of a lot of limitations being placed by governments around the world, particularly United States certainly, but many other governments on transfers of technology. In fact, the word transfer is a misnomer on even sale of technology. And I would expect this to go increase. I do not expect a, a future of easier market access to new technologies. And I think this is certainly an area under, I mean, there are several other areas in which we have to improve our own technological capability. But underwater domain awareness, since that is what we are talking about today, is certainly an area in which, unless we have our own capability, our own capacity, and invest in our capacity, and create domestic, institutions that generate this capacity and work with the Navy, work with the other, institutions of government. We are not going to be in a position to take advantage of whatever bilateral, trilateral, plurilateral cooperation we have with other countries. So thank you very much. Those are my views, and thank you for having me this in this very interesting discussion.